Some years ago, I went to a CSL conference, and when you go to a conference, there's kind of the main thing going on. There's the music and the speakers and all that sort of thing. And then there's workshops and breakouts, and you go to places, and I always love the workshops and breakouts, getting to know people in a more intimate way and meeting teachers and ministers that I'm not really familiar with. And I went to a breakout. It ended up being incredibly meaningful to me, and I do not remember the name of the person who did it. I know that it was a woman minister. And what caught my eye about it when I was looking through my program is okay, what am I going to do between, 9 and 11 or something, whatever it was. And it caught my eye. It had to do with manifestation. The work of manifestation, the realization of manifestation, something like that. And that was important to me because manifestation is at the heart of New Thought metaphysics. And what I mean by that is that basically, when we look at our lives and we open ourselves up to the directions we're being pulled into, a challenge of some kind, a dream that we have, a realization, an aspiration, a passion, change, transformation. We, instead of denying that, we open up to that and say, okay, what direction am I supposed to be going? And so in the course of that, the direction is a manifestation, the wisdom is a manifestation, the resources are a manifestation, the realizations are a manifestation. And so in metaphysics, we see challenges as opportunities. And I know I want to be careful with that because I know that not all challenges are created equal. Some challenges can be really challenging. And some challenges can be incredibly painful. And some challenges may seem like there's no possible end in sight. But there is a field of opportunity, what we might call healing of some kind. I remember when my mother-in-law was passing away over a few weeks, making her transition, and she needed to go to a more skilled place in terms of the medical care. She asked Judy, my wife, she said, "Judy, where am I going?" And Judy said, "You're going for a healing." Now, she made her transition. And Judy was very clear of the fact that that was her healing. Because just as we heard this morning, a person makes their transition. We put a number on their age and we do all that sort of thing. But the fact of the matter is, if we believe that life is eternal, that there are journeys within journeys within journeys, there is a master journey, then no one is truly gone. That's why we say, we are present within the mind of God. And that statement may seem kind of limiting in a way. Well, somewhere God is out there and he's thinking of us, but that's not, the mind of God is the universe. It is the physical universe in all kinds of planes and levels. And there's all kinds of ideas about that. And in New Thought, we don't teach any of those ideas formally. People who believe in reincarnation, people who believe in other levels of existence, people, whatever. That it's an ongoing journey. And Judy knew that her mom was tired, that she was ready for something different. We didn't know what that was. That's between she and Spirit. And her mom was able to be assisted in moving into her next realm in a very comfortable way. And we thought that that was such a blessing. So I was intrigued by this workshop, this breakout. And basically, what this woman was talking about was that she believed that the backdrop of the study of metaphysics, of manifestation, fruition, healing, transformation, has a very feminine quality to it. And she said that a lot of us in religious science and in metaphysics, we set up our own suffering because we put things on a particular timetable. We set our intention. And she said the teaching of intention is that we become very specific about where we want to go. But sometimes we then want to have it happen right now, immediate gratification. Some people call that addiction. But anyway, we want it right now. And her whole theory was that in the backdrop of all this, that manifesting, creating, was a feminine endeavor in the feminine energies of the universe. And what she said was, "Yeah, guys, ever heard of gestation?" Now, I've never, at least in this lifetime, I haven't given birth to a human being. But of all the women that I've known who gave birth to human beings, usually about 5 months in, it's like, I'm done. Let's come on out, Junior, because it's July and I'm hot. I'm not feeling good. And but there is that gestation when everything comes together in divine right order. And she ended up centering the idea of manifestation through things like synchronicities. In fact, that was sort of the centerpiece of the idea. And synchronicities are this idea that everything comes together in order for something to come about in divine right action when it's supposed to. Ernest Holmes said, "We know that no idea of spirit ever comes too soon or too late, but always at the correct time. Right action prevails. Creative law performs every right action at the right time, as it synchronizes all impulses towards the event." Now, if you ever take a basic metaphysics class, very often who's ever teaching and practitioners, ministers, they'll do this kind of little drill about the idea of manifestation. And so it goes something like this. So let's say it's a really rainy day and you got a lot of errands you got to run, you got a lot on your plate, maybe you're late for work or whatever. And so you're heading into Walgreens, you got to pick something up, you got to get that prescription or whatever. And you're thinking, I want to open myself up to a parking place right in front. So you go there, the parking place is just packed with cars. Everybody's come out in the rain to pick up their prescription. And so you travel around the parking lot and you got faith and you got hope and you got prayer and you got intention and you got mind treatment and affirmative prayer and all that sort of thing. And sure enough, you swing around for the third time in a car, you see those white lights on the back of the car, comes out and you just swing right in there. Oh my God, that's so cool. Now, this is the drill though. There are a minimum of 2 people involved in this process. Your car and their car. That's minimum. And so in metaphysics we say, okay, what is everything that had to come together to make that moment happen right at that time? And it's a mind blower. It can almost take you back to your birth and their birth. All that stuff that happens. Now, in metaphysics, in all of the religious traditions and spiritual traditions, there is mysticism, the things we don't understand, how things come together. I love that part of spirituality. I love to research mysticism and listen to people's ideas about that. And the mysticism that we center on in metaphysics, one part of it is look at that. Because this is the deal. We are taught in metaphysics that we are on our own path, right? Freedom, Holmes writes about freedom, and Fillmore and all these people write about freedom. We're on our own path. But suddenly, when that parking space opens up, those are two paths that come together. That's amazing. She said something that I thought was so cool. She said, you know, we have this thing called soulmates, and we think of it in a very romantic term, like, oh, look at that beautiful couple, they're soulmates, oh my God. She said, man, we run into soulmates every day. The person who came out of the parking place at that moment is our soulmate. Our two journeys coming together. And I love that because it speaks of the idea of soulmate has a connotation of love. The love of spirit. The love of alignment. She, in what she did, she brought out a piece of Ernest Holmes that's a tiny little line. And this line is a line that opens up a really big paragraph. And if you know Holmes, sometimes he could get on a roll, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, put some punctuation in there, dude. I mean, give me a chance to rest once in a while. Put a period in there, you know? And so Holmes would just be writing, and there's this one line that opens up this long line of whatever he was talking about. And the line is, nature seems to await our comprehension of her. Her, H-E-R. And she felt that Holmes was maybe influenced by a piece in the Tao. And if you read the Tao Te Ching, the 81 verses, if you kind of dial your mind a little bit, because it doesn't say this overtly, but if you read those 81 verses from the standpoint of masculine, feminine, male and female, it's really interesting. These pieces that go out, the yin-yang of everything. And there's a piece in the Tao that says, let it be still, and it will gradually become clear through her. And she said that she thinks Holmes was talking about that. This idea of, imagine for a moment a healing, a manifestation, a transformation, on and on and on. Imagine giving birth to that. Instead of getting or even manifesting, and there's nothing wrong with the word manifesting, but imagine giving birth to it. Imagining in the work that we do, opening up to it. I think this is what Holmes meant when he said, there is nothing to heal, only to reveal. Knowing that it's coming. You know, there was a comment made, and I get it. It was made in the most loving way. The gentleman who made his transition, he was only number. That's not known in the mind of God. Because in terms of the doorway he's walked through, that was divine right action. I don't pretend to understand it, because it's not my place to understand it. It's my place to recognize it. We're the ones who tend to, and I get it, I'm not being punitive here, living this world, heavy, dense energies that we live in, the physical energies, which are beautiful, they're sensual. Our life is sensual, it has layers to it. You know, imagine traveling through all the geographies, imagining being with a loved one, holding their hand, or, you know, scratching them behind the ears, or, you know, how wonderful a great meal is, or how much pleasure we take in the way we can put clothes on ourselves, and what kind of fancy shoes we can buy, and how great it is to drive around, or ride a motorcycle, or shoot the rapids, or swim in a beautiful river. These are sensual experiences in this earth, but they are heavy experiences. We tend to have a shelf life of some kind. But that's our shelf life. That's ours. That's part of this journey. Sometimes, and I want to tell you a story here in a moment, and it reminds me of something Deepak Chopra said. He said, very often we can go through a very challenging situation, and we come out the other end, and someone will say, oh my God, I'm so sorry you went through that. And we say, you know what, I got to tell you, it was kind of a frickin' blessing. And the way it came about. And Deepak Chopra says, how come we don't see that going in? Why don't we practice that level of faith? So some years ago, I was working with a gentleman around his alcoholism. And he'd finally stopped drinking. Throughout his life, the only amount of sobriety he could get was a few days here and there, you know? I mean, once he crossed that line into addiction, which can be a very strange, elusive line. And when I was working with him, I was counseling him, and he was able to put together, when this happened, he had about like 75 days. It was, you know, and it was like, you know, before that, his wife was going to leave him. He had 2 teenage kids. They were kind of checked out. He was in a profession. He loved his profession. He was highly educated, had degrees and stuff, but he was just dragging in there. He was kind of phoning it in. He wasn't feeling good, you know, and he was only in his early 40s or whatever, late 30s, early 40s. And so he put together 75 days, and his wife, who was literally talking about divorce and stuff, and looking on eHarmony for lawyers and stuff like that. And she put all that to a halt, and pretty soon he's starting to hang out with the kids more. They're taking hikes on weekends, and the home became harmonious. It kind of settled down, and he was feeling good, and he felt his profession, and he was getting up in the morning and going to work, and all that stuff that happens when you stop dumping those chemicals in your body, and you're involved in, you move beyond what's called active addiction. So anyway, he went along, and one of his teenage children suddenly, who'd been just great kid, wonderful in school, just perfect kid, all of a sudden had this major thing happen at school, at high school, and it was just horrible. It just kind of blew things apart, and suddenly they're in the principal's office, and the school board's getting together, and what are we going to do? And he's like, so he engaged, he and his wife engaged, and they're trying to get the child through this, and so he was coming to see me with the other counseling, and he was just so distraught, and the other kids' families and all, it was just a mess. And so he came to me and he said, he kind of had a metaphysical kind of mind. He says, I don't understand why this happened. Why did this happen now? What's going on? And I sat there and I listened to him, and he's kind of looking at me, Andy, tell me why this happened now, right? And I'll tell you what came up for me. I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree, but something came up for me. And I sat there and I looked at him, and you're taught as a counselor and also spiritually and stuff, you kind of say what's on your mind. You do it nicely, hopefully. But I said, I got to tell you, you know what's coming up for me right now? What if your child had done this 3 months ago? How would you have shown up as a parent then? Synchronicity. Okay, let's take a look at these 2 people. One of them, a young person, going along, and for whatever reason goes off the rails by right of consciousness. That's it. Got this other person who, for whatever reason, decides to become very healthy for when this stuff hit the fan. Wow. That's amazing. That's the greatest love letter that this universe sends to us. Yes, my beloved. We say, yes, my beloved, it is done unto you. Isn't that beautiful? To have resources, things come together, wisdoms, information. I'll give you an example of, I walked in this morning, and this week, I have to make a really quick trip to Texas. Because I have a family situation down there that I need to go down and be present for. And politically and religiously speaking, my family who lives in Texas is not an accident. They love politically and socially and culturally. And so I find that part of my family incredibly challenging. But I want to go down there and I want to be my highest self. And man, I put this trip together this last week pretty quick. And I have been, I'll be honest with you, a couple times, I have said things I regret. I've had attitudes. And I'm a lousy poker player. What I think is what you see. Oh yeah, I really love you a lot. It's so nice to see you, I don't want to do that. So I come in this morning, and Reverend Terry does this meditation based on her dog, Kachina. And I need to be that dog, from what she said. Love through presence, joy, rest, and openness. I love my family. I need to shut up and listen. I need to put all that other stuff aside. I love, because I got my sister on the phone the other day, and she said, well, I heard you got a motel room. I said, yeah. Well, okay. And I said, well, I want to give you guys your space. And she laughed when I said that, because she knows what's up with me. And I thought this was so cool, because I wasn't feeling she goes on an adventure. I got my motel room to rest, so that when I get up in the morning, I can go join the adventure of family. Because I want to be part of their synchronicity, because I'm going down there because there's a really concerning health issue going on. Synchronicity. I want someday for my sister to say, wow, part of all that, Andy showed up and he was really decent. He was really loving. He was caring. And I want to be that. And so I sat here in the meditation this morning, and that dog just had such a great face, So now I'm going for electronic people, because I totally forgot that frickin' video. Would you guys like to see a video? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I love this video because this is just about opening up to spirit. So can we do this really super?